Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is English Department, Government Postgraduate College Attack. I am Muhammad Suhail, Assistant Professor of English. Dear students, once again, I welcome you to my online class second year English. The topic for teaching is grammar, and we were discussing pronoun and rules how to use pronoun. In yesterday's lecture, we defined pronoun and discussed 6 rules for using it correctly. But before discussing more rules, I would like to explain you the term adjunct which had been used in the yesterday's lecture. So you can write down the definition of adjunct. An adverb or a phrase adds meaning to the verb in a sentence or part of a sentence. I repeat, adjunct is what? Adjunct is an adverb or a phrase adds meaning to the verb in a sentence or part of a sentence. She went home yesterday. Again, she went home yesterday. And the second sentence is, he ran away in a panic. He ran away in a panic. In these two sentences, yesterday, which is an adverb, and in a panic is a phrase. They have added to the meaning of a verb. So they are called adjuncts. Now we come to our 7th rule. To decide whether to use the subject or object pronoun after the words then or is, mentally complete the sentence. Example, Tarana is as smart as she or her. If we mentally complete the sentence, we would say Tarana is as smart as she is. Therefore, she is the correct answer. How? Because here you can see Tarana has been compared. The smartness of Tarana has been compared to an other girl. So Tarana is what that is a subject, and we need a subjective case of the pronoun out of the choices she and her. So is taller than I or me. Mentally completing the sentence, we have Zo is taller than I am. Again, Zo is what? That is in subjective case. So, comparison can only be made between two noun or pronoun when they are in the same category. Or we can say instead of noun or pronoun, I would preferably say between two words which are in the same category. So we see Zo is a subject and we have to use I instead of me, because in this way the comparison can be made between two words which are in the same subjective case. Daniel would rather talk to her than I or me. We can interpret this sentence in two ways. Daniel would rather talk to her than to me. Or Daniel would rather talk to her than I would. How it can be interpreted in two ways. Here we see that here in this sentence we have two items to be compared. Daniel is a noun and it is in subjective case. Her is a pronoun which is used as an object. So if we want to compare Daniel subjective case to the pronoun which comes after then the right choice is I. And if we take into account her, then we have to write down me instead of I. And definitely the meaning would change accordingly. Daniel would rather talk to her than me. Here we have one subject and two objects. And Daniel prefers to talk to her instead of talking to me. In the second sentence, Daniel would rather talk to her than I would. In this case, there are two subjects. One is Daniel and other is I, who are to talk to her. But preferably, Daniel is being nominated instead of I. So, comparison lies between two subjects in this sentence. The rule 8 is the possessive pronouns yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs, and whose never need apostrophes. Avoid mistakes like hers and yours. As the students usually use apostrophe at the end of application or letter, yours in the postscripts, yours obediently, yours faithfully, yours truly, yours affectionately. But if you use an apostrophe, it will be what? A mistake. Rule 9. The only time it's as an apostrophe is when it is a contraction for it is or it has. The only time whose as an apostrophe is when it means who is or who has. There is no apostrophe in oneself. Avoid oneself, a common error. You have example that will definitely give you a guideline about what had been explained in this very rule. It's been a cold morning. It means that it has been a cold morning. The thermometer reached its highest reading. Now, its is a possessive pronoun which has been used as a possessive case for thermometer. He is the one who's always on time. It means that he is the one who is always on time. He is the one whose wife is always on time. Again, He is the one whose wife, whose shows possessive case of who. Keeping oneself ready is important. Here we need not put any apostrophe. The rule number 10 is pronouns that end in self or cells are called reflexive pronoun. There are 9 reflexive pronouns: myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, oneself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Here, you should also keep in mind that usually you is used in both the cases uh, that is singular and plural. But here in case of reflexive pronoun, yourselves and yourself are to be used for singular and plural pronoun in case of you. Reflexive pronouns are used when both the subject and the object of a verb are the same person or thing. Example: Joe helped himself. If we use Joe helped him, it means that Joe has helped some other person. But if we say Joe helped himself, it means that he has not taken any help from any other person. He has depended on his own, you may say, efforts or abilities or caliber. If the object of a preposition refers to a previous noun or pronoun, use a reflexive pronoun. Example: Joe. Example: Joe bought it for himself. Reflexive pronouns help avoid confusion and nonsense. Without them, we might be stuck with sentences like Joe helped Joe. Correct. I work myself to the bone. The object myself is the same person as the subject I, performing the act of working. Incorrect. My brother and my did it. Correct. My brother and I did it. Because we need two subjects. Here we need not write a reflexive pronoun, because you should also keep in mind that again two words being joined with a conjunction, and they should be in the same category. So my brother is a subject and we have to use I, which is the subjective case of first person singular pronoun. Don't use myself unless the pronoun I or me precedes it in the sentence. Incorrect. Please give it to John or myself. Correct. Please give it to John or me. Again, you can see that we, in this very sentence, we don't need possessive pronoun but objective pronoun. Correct. You saw me being myself. Here, once again, I would like to explain the construction of this sentence, that You saw me being myself. It means that I myself had appeared on the scene and there was no other person. Myself refers to me in the act of being. A sentence like help yourself looks like an exception to the rule until we realize it is shorthand for you may help yourself. In certain cases, a reflexive pronoun may come first. Example, doubting himself, the man proceeded cautiously. Yani, as for the man is concerned that he was not very much sure about his caliber or his capabilities. Reflexive pronouns are also used for emphasis. Example, he himself finished the whole job.